is the story of a boy called Tom Harvey, a 16-year-old boy who lives in a kind of tough high-rise housing estate in South London. It's the kind of place where there's lots of problems with street gangs, lots of crime, violence. And the story begins one day when Tom's coming home from school. He's walking underneath one of these 30-floor tower blocks, and somebody throws an iPhone from the top of the tower block. It hits Tom on the head, knocks him out. When he wakes up, he's been in a coma for 2 weeks, and he finds out that tiny fragments of the iPhone have kind of lodged inside his brain. And gradually he begins to realise that he's developing the powers of an iPhone. So he can access all the websites in the world inside his head. He can make phone calls, listen to phone calls. He can read all the emails in the world. He has all this kind of incredible power. He also has kind of extra powers. He can, because the iPhone kind of mutates with his own brain, this sort of neurological stuff, he can kind of electrocute people, give them shocks. And with these new powers, Tom begins to kind of seek out and take revenge on one of the gangs who've done something terrible to his friend Lucy. I mean, I didn't set out to think, okay, I'm going to do this as a sort of metaphor, but I mean, all books have kind of where you can sort of reflect what's going on in the world. So yes, I mean, it's the way it developed really, and I suppose my own personal kind of opinion of all the modern technology we have is, yes, it's fantastic. It can do wonderful things, and superficially it's changed so much in the world. But if you look just beneath that surface, all the things that really count about life, relationships, who we are, what we do, those things haven't changed at all. And those are the things that really matter. Those are the things that count. And ultimately, it's kind of, I mean, Tom finds out ultimately that what really matters is his relationship with Lucy. That's the most important thing in the world to him, and his relationship with his grandmother. So those very kind of basic things which have been around for hundreds of thousands of years, they don't change. Yeah, I think so. I think all books, I think, they start with a character and a situation, and you look at how that character resolves or tries to resolve that situation, and that takes the character on a journey. I think all books have to have a journey. So the character, he goes on the journey, and at the end of it, he doesn't necessarily resolve things, but by travelling on that journey, he or she finds out things about themselves. Yes, and I think Tom, he kind of, I mean, it's in a way, it's kind of a reflection, a kind of emphasis of what happens when you grow up anyway. Because when you grow up, you do kind of take on more responsibility, you have more power, and it's very difficult and confusing knowing what to do with those things. And that's kind of Tom's journey. He's struggling to find out the right way to use what he has, whether he should use it at all. And I think he doesn't find the answer at the end, but he's got somewhere. He's sort of he's found something out about himself, which I think is all you can really, hope for quite often. I mean, most of my books, I look at kind of big questions about things, but I never really go looking for answers, because most of the big questions in life, they don't have answers. Otherwise, we would have found out the answers, thousands of years ago. But it's just very interesting to actually, again, take that journey, look at things, think about things, try and work things out. That's the interesting part. When I read comics when I was younger, not really kind of American traditional superhero stuff. Well, that's one of the reasons when I got the idea for iBoy, it was because I suddenly realised there aren't. you know, all superheroes are Americans. And I thought, why is that? You know, and maybe I thought because English people are a bit too kind of repressed emotionally to be superheroes. But and I mean, I'm not a sort of big comic fan. I like some. I mean, I really liked the Spider-Man movies. I thought they were quite very good films, and the book was kind of influenced by those to a certain extent. But I did quite a lot of background reading into not specific kind of comics, but just the whole idea and tradition of superhero fiction, because it is, you know, it's kind of very traditional structure. I mean, it's a bit like sort of myths. It's like modern day myths. And most superhero stories, they follow the same kind of structure, they have the same kind of elements, the same themes. So it's, you know, like myths, they have these kind of rules that you work within, which is quite interesting. So yeah, I don't say that's one of the reasons when I first had the idea, I thought this is not the right idea for you, because, you know, you have no great love of superhero books, and you don't really like, you know, you don't write superhero books. But I just
You got the essence.
yes. But also I realised, because I mean, some of my books are kind of, although they're all, most of them are sort of based in, very much in reality, in England. Some of them are sort of very much influenced by westerns, because I've always read westerns, and so they use the elements of western stories. Some of them are very much love stories, some of them have elements of science fiction, and I'm not too bothered about categories, about genres. If I think something is a good story, both as a reader and a writer, I'll read it, whatever it is, and I don't really care about, you know, that some of my books might be sort of kind of like a bit like crime fiction or a bit like science fiction. As long as it's a good story, it doesn't matter. Yeah. You see, I mean, again, I didn't have my personal kind of. I mean, I work with, you know, I work on a computer all the time, and I use the internet all the time, and I have a smartphone, but I'm not kind of obsessed with all this stuff, because a lot of it we don't really use. You know, we just play with these things. We just use them as toys. You know, we get a smartphone which has, I mean, you know, a smartphone has the kind of computing ability of about, you know, 1,000 computers from the, you know, 10 years ago, and all we do is like play games on it, you know, and make phone calls and send emails. The same as like, you know, all these different computers keep coming out which have, you know, billions of gigabytes and trilobytes or whatever they're called, and we don't need it, you know. We just buy them because they're new, and it's kind of an odd thing. It's become, you know, we have this incredible, wonderful, enormously powerful technology, which is kind of evolving kind of like this. And apart from, you know, scientists obviously make good use of it, you know, hospitals and all that kind of stuff, but the average person, me and you, we just kind of like download stupid apps and stuff, and, you know, which is nice, it's good fun, but it's you know, it's not revolutionary yet, I don't think.